Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of the Big Chill Podcast, the Premier League preview. Hockey and basketball playoffs are heating up, and that's been causing a little trash talking amongst us boys. But I think the big debate of the weekend between us was whether or not nachos should have meat on them. Caused a big outrage amongst us, and we went to Instagram on a poll to decide. And as of right now, the poll is 59 people voting yes for meat on nachos, 7 people voting no for meat on nachos, 2 of which are you guys and 2 of your friends, actually 3 of your friends. So a very convincing yes for meat on nachos.
Well, hold on. You didn't mention the fact that one of the votes for yes is also you. You can't just...
Yes, one of the 50... Well, let's put this in perspective. 1 of 59 is me. 2 of 7 was you.
Well, still. And let's also say we had a vote on Twitter going, and so far every vote has been for no meat.
There's 2 votes, and it's you 2.
No.
Actually,
Neither
I
of us
haven't voted on Twitter.
I haven't voted either. You can't vote on your own polls. So those are 2 random people who have voted on that, and both of them 100% in agreement. Twitter has spoken. It's 1-1. It is 1-1 in the polls.
They say a good sample size of the population is 2 people.
Well, as I said to you off the podcast, if the last 3-4 years has taught us anything, popular votes are not the way to decide things. So really, the fact that the majority of people have voted for meat on nachos means that clearly no meat on nachos is better.
So I was thinking about it more, and I think the reason that you 2 don't want meat on nachos is the type of meat on nachos you're getting in Europe, where I assume it's probably more like chili based and it makes the nacho really soggy and soft. And in that instance, I would agree with you. I'd rather not have the meat and have not crispy nachos. But if you have good meat, like chopped up pieces of chicken or brisket or pulled pork, something that's not super juicy and you still have a crispy nacho, then I think you're definitely adding the value to the nacho, without a doubt.
First of all, I don't know why you're portraying Europe as being Tex-Mex has yet to make its way over here.
Okay. How many restaurants do you go to that have nachos on the menu?
I mean,
in Paris?
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Quite a few is what, 10 in Paris? I would be hard-pressed to find a restaurant in the United States that almost doesn't have nachos.
What? Oh my God, what a statement.
It's true.
I'd love to go to a really high-end fish restaurant and just have nachos on the menu.
Fish nachos, shrimp nachos.
I like the fact you'll go to a 3-star Michelin restaurant and you'll be like, "Oh, could I have some nachos, please, sir? We don't have nachos on the menu." What the fuck is this place?
I would say most places in the UK have nachos as a main, a sharer, an appetizer, as any sort of combination except dessert.
And then second of all, the other thing, even aside from that, you're also portraying me as someone who I once heard about Big America. I've yet to go, but maybe one day I'll get my American experience and get some nachos with some pulled pork on them.
That's the dream.
Let's see.
The American dream.
In 7 years, you've had one American nacho, and it was served to you in a child-size baseball helmet. So that's your American nachos over the past 7 years.
What are you talking about? On my trips to America, I've been to several Mexican restaurants. And as everyone knows, Ohio is famous for Mexican food.
Yes, it's super famous.
I wouldn't be able to challenge you. I mean, surely...
When you think Mexican Americans, you think Ohio. I mean, what does Frank know about this? He's just in Arizona. America's armed.
Nowhere near. Basically flip sides of each other.
Whoa. Don't take New Jersey's nickname away from it, Eddie. New Jersey is the armpit of America.
Sorry.
And we hold that distinction with pride.
Yeah. I saw today a mutual friend of ours posted a meme, and it said, If you think your life is really bad right now, just remember that there are people living in New Jersey.
It's pretty good.
You know, the original nacho recipe didn't have meat though, right?
Oh, I'm sure it didn't. Was meat even invented then?
Was meat invented?
I'm joking.
So
Yeah,
go on,
so
tell us, because Sam seemingly he broke this little piece of news to me before we start recording. But Sam was contacted by someone with a link to the history of nachos and the original nacho recipe.
It's actually one of the least exciting origin stories you'll ever come across. But
well, let me
apparently,
guess. They started in northern Mexico.
oh, wrong. It was Ohio.
Oh.
No. It was a guy called Ignacio Anaya, and it was easier to call him Nacho as the name. And apparently he was in a restaurant and he hastily served up tortilla chips, cheese, and jalapenos. And then suddenly it stuck. So it was in the 1940s, which made me laugh about your meat invention. Like, they'd invented like guns and things like that 20 years off the moon landing, but they hadn't understood what a cow was.
No, they haven't gotten into efficient livestock yet.
Sam, how was it for you to like receive a DM on Instagram that wasn't just a dick pic?
It was actually before the dick pic. I said thank you for the knowledge, and then they just flowed after that. It was quite upsetting.
Oh, he said,
I know how Ronaldo feels.
I heard you don't like meat on your nachos, but do you like a little bit of meat on the side? And then just bam, there it was.
Eddie, how do you not know it wasn't like a Brett Favre picture where instead of Crocs, he was just standing in a plate of nachos? Well, the other big debate we had, like I said, was the hockey and basketball playoffs. So my round 2 competition against Sam the Squid has pretty much gone completely down the middle, with 2 of my picks, the Vegas Knights and the Islanders, up 3-1 in their series, and 2 of Sam's picks, the Lightning and the Dallas Stars, up 3-1 in their games. So as of now, it looks like a split is in the cards, although I forget what the stat was. They put it up after one of the games. It's pretty convincing for a team up 3-1. I think it was less than 5% of the teams come back down 3-1 in NHL playoffs. So maybe one of us gets lucky, but we'll see. Which would mean then I think we go next round and we just pick the Stanley Cup champion, a 1-4 shot.
I say no. I think you still got to do round by round.
Round by round? So 2 games?
Well, yeah, but maybe one of you goes 0 for 2. Like if you go 0 for 2, Frank, and Sam goes 2 for 2, you look awful. Whereas if you pick the Stanley Cup winner and you win, you could have maybe only been right on one of the 3 potential series. Well, I guess it would be 2 of the 3, right? But yeah, I think you have to do round by round. It's too close now to just do a skip.
Okay. How do you feel about this, Frank? Because we picked completely opposing picks this time round. We're probably going to tie. Beforehand, it was what, like I got 5 of 8 or 6 of 8, right? Like how
5 of 8.
So how do you feel about the kind of going up against Sam the Squid at the moment? Are you confident in the latter stages in the final?
I'm not super confident, and it's like I said before. I feel like once you get to this round in hockey, mostly any team can win. Once a team gets hot, they all have enough talent to pretty much go through. I mean, for instance, I am still shocked that the Avs are down 3-1 against the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, I don't know if you said this before. I don't know if you said that before, because one of these picks you were so confident about.
I was very confident about Vegas.
There were 2 teams you basically penciled into the next round, and that was Colorado and Vegas.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I'm still shocked that the Avs aren't – I mean, they're playing okay, but, I mean, their backup goalie's in, so obviously that's probably a concern a little bit. But I thought they would have a lot more firepower to kind of keep up with the Stars.
And everyone knows, right, playoff hockey, if a goalkeeper gets hot, if a goalie gets hot, then anything can happen. Anything can happen.
I mean, look at I texted Eddie, I think jokingly, right? I thought I texted you. The Lightning goalie is just on fire right now. I think the Lightning versus Bruins, the stat was something along the lines of 14 out of the last 17 goals have been scored by the Lightning in the series, something ridiculous, and that he's just shutting them down. I mean, the Bruins are getting tons of shots and chances, but just shutting them down. So, Eddie, you're right. Anytime a goalie gets hot in the playoffs, look out. And actually, that brings up a really good question I had for you, because I know today we're going to talk about the Premier League, and we're going to do our Premier League preview. And I was doing my research and reading about teams, and some teams kind of trying to upgrade on their keeper and things like that. So it came up, I was thinking, do you think the goalie is more important in hockey or in European football, soccer?
It probably depends a little bit on the team. But I would say probably it's more important in hockey, just because you're going to be more involved. If you're a goalkeeper for a good team, you might only be called into action 4 or 5 times in a match. Now, obviously, you can't let everything in, and you're going to have big matches where you need to make big saves. And it's more than just saves; it's communicating with the defenders and keeping everyone in the right place and stuff like that. But I think, even if you're dominant in hockey, the other team's going to have 15 shots, probably.
Even probably like 25.
Yeah,
20.
So if you were really terrible, and if you're going to let in 5 goals, no matter how good your team is, they're going to struggle.
And that was kind of my thing. I think, is a goalie more important when they face 20 to 40 shots, or is it more important when they face 3 shots, and can't let any in, versus having 30 and maybe you can let in 3-4 goals and still come out on top? Especially these playoffs, the hockey teams have been scoring, averaging probably over 3 goals a game.
Yeah. I mean, my vote would be for hockey. But I mean, I actually think goalkeepers generally are underrated members of football teams. It's kind of changed a little bit in the Premier League in recent years, because people have been praising Alisson at Liverpool so much that it's maybe sort of, not that I don't think people within clubs or within teams were underappreciating the value of the goalkeeper, but I do think supporters in general kind of saw, particularly if you're at a good club, you just thought, look, as long as we have someone semi-competent, we'll be fine. And I think now they're starting to see the value of, actually, if we have a really good goalkeeper, that has a spillover into every other aspect of our team.
Yeah. And also when you look at Edison is a similar one at Man City, the best teams have the best keepers. There always used to be that kind of, I wouldn't call it a myth, but they always used to say that you would always see a goalkeeper more for a lower quality Premier League team, because naturally they're going to be in action more. So you're going to be more aware of the mistakes they're making, etc. But I'd say you're right that there's more value on them now in terms of marshalling a back line, pushing people out, telling people where to go, telling them to press, telling them to counter, that kind of stuff. You definitely see keepers a lot more animated now. I don't think it's possible for any team to have an average keeper and do well anymore. I mean, De Gea is kind of a shining example of that problem there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up, right? I mean, you look at the De Gea situation at United, and people are basically saying he's ruining games for them. So in that sense, the keeper maybe is more important, because he can literally ruin a game, at least in fans' eyes, right?
Well, that's always been the thing, right? That's what goalkeepers always say about themselves, is that in terms of the mentality you have to have as a keeper, that you can be a forward or a midfielder and you make a mistake and it's not that important. If you miss an open goal, obviously there are moments where it is. Raheem Sterling missing an open goal in the Champions League final was a huge moment that people could point to. But if he'd done it in the 2nd minute of the match and they'd gone on to win, no one would have thought anything of it. It would have been forgotten about. And so, whereas a goalkeeper, if you make a mistake, it probably means that a goal has been scored. And that's obviously a much more sort of measurable moment than just missing a chance. And De Gea is an interesting one, because De Gea is either the sort of best bad goalkeeper in the Premier League, or he's the worst good goalkeeper in the Premier League. And I'm not sure which one it is. But he obviously used to be. I mean, the crazy thing is, if you'd gone back 4 or 5 seasons, you probably would have said he's the best goalkeeper in the world. So it's fall from grace. And it's just, he still makes great saves and still looks very competent a lot of the time. But then he just makes errors that if one of us made, and Sam and I have had this conversation a lot, if we were playing in a 7-a-side, 5-a-side match, and one of us made some of the mistakes he makes in goal, we would be so critical of each other. So to imagine doing that when you're playing for Manchester United and, and for Spain, and you're making those kind of very basic errors, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean the great example for De Gea, or great example of a keeper in general, is the Man U Chelsea FA Cup game where he made 2 absolute howlers, but he also pulled off probably 3 or 4 incredible saves. So you'll remember him because he messed up, and obviously a couple of the goals De Gea was at fault for. But simultaneously, Chelsea probably would have scored some if it wasn't for the incredible goalkeeping that De Gea showed. So it can be a bit thankless being a goalkeeper. Everyone expects the basics have to be done right, or a team will score. So it's kind of like you can't get anything wrong. And I guess the only time a keeper's probably in a win-win scenario is like a penalty shootout, because I don't think many people expect you to save a penalty. You are more expected to score than you are to save. So if it's a save, it's more of a surprise. So I'd probably say that's the goalkeeper's kind of like best win-win scenario in that sense.
Well, unless you're a Dutch goalkeeper and you get subbed off just for the penalty shootout.
Yeah, that's...
But I mean, I guess the interesting one with De Gea, because obviously it's a big debate, and we're going to get on it. We'll probably get onto this topic in a way when maybe we start with Manchester United, then it's the natural place because of this conversation. But obviously the debate within United is, do they move on from De Gea? And because they have a sort of natural replacement, obviously, with having had a very good young goalkeeper out on loan in the Premier League who had a good year last year. So, but for me, the reason why I'd be hesitant in a way is actually Manuel Neuer is an interesting comparison for De Gea. And we spoke about, last week when we were talking about the Champions League final and Manuel Neuer's, great performance, sort of match-winning performance for Bayern Munich. And Neuer also went through a down period where he seemed to lose all of his confidence, and similarly went from being arguably the best goalkeeper in the world to being very unreliable. And maybe all it takes, so now it would be interesting, Manuel Neuer has definitely changed his perception, because I think he's reestablished himself as being considered a very good goalkeeper just by performing in a big moment. But it probably also just a reflection of a return to confidence. And with De Gea, you have to imagine, the thing you'd be worried about as United is you're never going to get value selling him now. And then if he goes somewhere else and that's all he needs to get a bit more confidence back is a fresh start, you're going to look like you got rid of one of the world's best goalkeepers for a cut price.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll obviously, Eddie, don't shoot all the loads before the Premier League preview starts. So
no.
keep some of your hot takes in there. But yeah, I think just kind of wrapping up the whole comparison thing, I kind of agree. I think hockey, the goalie is more important, only because in soccer, I feel like you can have really great goalkeeping, but as long as you have decent standard goalkeeping where you save the saves you're supposed to make and you don't make terrible errors like maybe De Gea does sometimes, I think you're more okay. Whereas in hockey, a goalie can really change a game going from an average keeper to a really, really good keeper. I mean, the best hockey goalies, I think, have a more of an impact than the best soccer goalies do compared to like the baseline average level. And you see that in the playoffs, like a goalie gets hot and it's impossible to get a goal by him, so, and you're seeing that
maybe
now, I'm screwed. Do you know what I'm saying though? Like I feel like in soccer, a goalie's there and they're going to save the ones that they can save, but most of them, if they're really good shots, there's really not a keeper that's going to be able to save it. Whereas in hockey, no matter how good the shot is, there's probably a really good goalie that can save it.
No, you're right. And I mean, they have that stat now, right, which is based on sort of expected saves. They work that out as to what they can use to measure how good a keeper was, and that's where De Gea is so far below average, is that he lets in attempts that every other goalkeeper basically in the Premier League would have saved.
Yeah.
But Sam touched on the good point, which was that you don't notice them typically, or like historically maybe haven't noticed them as much at big teams. But I can say, for example, to please all of our American listeners, but when Brad Fiedel was the goalkeeper of Blackburn Rovers, and he had a couple of seasons where I genuinely think he was the best goalkeeper in the world. I mean, he had the great 2002 World Cup, and then around that period when Blackburn were challenging for European places every season, he was he would time and time again. I mean, Blackburn won matches where you would say the only reason they won was because of his performances. I mean, he famously did it against Arsenal once, where he just kept out. I mean, you had efforts that you would have thought maybe 6 or 7 times you thought were definitely goals, and he was just pulling off incredible saves. So there are moments when a goalkeeper in football will have that sort of match-winning performance. But it's true probably just on the fact if you put it in the top corner, it doesn't really matter who the goalkeeper is. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of whereas in hockey, because of the size of the net, you could argue that every attempt is savable fundamentally.
And the size of the goalie.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
like a
goalies
goalie
huge.
can reach everything, right? Like if their reactions are quick enough, they could get their hand or their stick or their foot like somewhere in time. Whereas in football, if you if you bend one into the top corner or just smash one in, there's moments where you go, unless the goalkeeper was superhuman, he couldn't have done anything about it.
So, Eddie, do you want to give us a little basketball playoff update against you and Sam the Squid? This one's heating up intensely.
It's an interesting one. I mean, the last time we did it, it looked like, well, the Thunder Rockets series was tied, and it was kind of a toss-up at that point. But I guess the Rockets in a way have been really helped by the boycott and then the break, because it's allowed Westbrook to come out. He's on a minutes cap, but still the fact that they get to have Westbrook come on for sort of a quarter or 2 quarters of game, it's just a game-changing difference for them. And I think for the Thunder, they just don't have a setup that can stop when the Rockets have Harden, Westbrook, and Gordon all there as a threat, as a scoring threat. There's just no way for them to stop the Rockets from being able to score kind of when they want. So now up 3-2, I'd be incredibly surprised if the Thunder come back. So that was one of the 2 series that Sam and I disagreed on. We are going to go 6 for 6 in the series we agreed on. So that's pretty incredible. Although they all were favorites, but Sam didn't know that when he made those picks. Yeah. And then in the other series, when we last spoke, the Jazz were 3-1 up against the Nuggets. So it looked like Sam was going to win the other series that we disagreed on. And now it's 3-3. So going to a game 7. And obviously the Nuggets have all the momentum. And equally, it just looks like the Jazz probably don't have the depth in their team necessary to compete. And so the Nuggets they've been stuck in this position for a little bit in a way of like the Thunder Rockets situation. They have to double team one of the Nuggets' 2 main scoring options. And when they do that, the Nuggets' overall sort of passing and movement is good enough that they're just going to make the open shot. And on the other end, the Jazz just look like they're kind of struggling to score a little bit right now.
Have you seen Jamal Murray's last 3 games, his stat line for Denver?
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
50, 42, 50. That's insane.
It's not just the stat line too. It's actually one of the aspects of the NBA I almost don't understand. But all of these guys can hit shots. I mean, they're like just pulling out from anywhere. So to me, that's the crazy thing. And like to watch it, if you either just want a team to win, if you're a fan of a team, or if you've bet on one of the teams, you'll see a guy just pull up from like 35, 40 feet out, and your initial reaction will be like, oh, you idiot. And then it just drains it. And you're like, wow, what a great decision you've just made. And it's a weird one and I guess for young people, they're just growing up and shooting from everywhere, and they're kind of inspired by Steph Curry and all the rest. And so they're just learning that from a young age. But it's the kind of thing that if I'd been doing it, like when I was playing like on my middle school team, if I had decided to just, hey, when I'm feeling it, I'm just shooting from anywhere, I think I would have been dragged off the court in about 90 seconds.
Yeah, and then I guess the only other newsworthy thing coming out of the NBA was the second round of the scuffle between Morris and Donich. That was did you see that? Basketball fights to me, or lack thereof of a fight, are just so pathetic. I wish that both teams didn't rush out and fake hold each other back, because I would just like to see them not be held back and see them do nothing, because the pretending that they're going to fight each other while they're being held back by 3 5-foot 6'5" guys is so pathetic. Because what is Luka actually going to do to Morris? Was he actually going to fight him? No.
What was the reason for it? Like, what was the aggravation?
The origin of it is that
Luka's getting picked on.
Yeah, I mean,
by a bigger person.
Well, for starter, Luka Doncic, he does complain a lot about calls and stuff. But I think it was in Game 5. It was either Game 4 or Game 5, but I think it was Game 5.
No, it was game 1 or 2 when Porzingis got thrown out. That was the first.
No, that's not the origin but that's not the origin of this issue. The origin of this, the origin of this issue is that they felt that there was a moment. I think it was Game 5, and Doncic obviously is carrying an injury. His ankle is injured, and they felt that, I think it was Morris actually himself, but intentionally stepped on Luka's ankle.
He gave him a flat tire.
Yeah, and so the Mavericks thought it was a dirty play, and so they went up the other end. Then one of them grabbed Morris by the face, and that kind of spun off. And then since then, there's just bad blood. But you're right, like
bad blood.
I mean, the only thing worse than NBA fights might be Major League Baseball fights most of the time, because
at least they swing sometimes,
but at the same time, a lot of the time it's just like 60 guys slowly jogging towards like the pitcher's mound, and then kind of all just standing around while like 7 of them hug each other, and then they walk away, and most of them are like, why the fuck are we even out here?
But I like, at least in the MLB, it's not even just the players, like the coaches and the assistant coaches will run out. So you see a 65-year-old, out of shape, overweight man slowly jogging out to the center.
Well, not just that, a 65-year-old overweight man in uniform that doesn't really fit in. Like, that's the best part about it. That's the only thing I wish I do. Like, to me, I still, for the life of me, don't get why like baseball coaches wear the uniform, but I would love it to be applied to other sports. Like, I would love to watch like an NBA coach have to be in like the uniform, or even worse, like a hockey coach, and have to be like in pads and stuff, like on the side.
How about badminton? They can wear your white short shorts.
Oh well, the fans just do that anyway because it looks so good.
Eddie, the other good part about the baseball is when they open up the what the hell, where the pitchers are, and they have to run completely across the field, and it's a 30 to 45 second jog for them to get into the action, and you just slowly see them coming from the outfield, like, oh, they're going to get there in 30, 40 seconds. Just wait, keep waiting. I love that part too.
Well, the good one then, I mean, you're not going to see it now, but if you, after the podcast, and for any of our listeners, like John Boy Media, who does some of the best baseball-related videos and content. I mean, he does some other sports too. But he did one video, I can't remember which pitcher it was, and I think it was last year, who decided to sprint from the bullpen to take less time. So the guy, like, the door opens and the guy full-on sprints to whatever it is, 250, 300 feet to the pitcher's mound, while the catcher and like the first and the third baseman are standing there. The catcher looks up and sees him sprinting and is just like, what a fucking idiot this guy is, like, sprinting in. He gets to the pitcher's mound. He's out of breath. So then he has to take some time standing on the pitcher's mound to try and gather his breath. Even when he starts pitching, he's still out of breath. And then he proceeds to like give up a home run and gets pulled instantly. And it's just such a dumb sequence.
Oh, that's pretty good. But yeah, I mean, it was another pathetic attempt at a fight in the NBA. There was a good one, was that last year, where they were really decently throwing punches on like the side, and one of the fans that was close to the court got knocked over or something like that. That was a somewhat decent one. I forget who that was.
Yeah, plus you had Russell Westbrook, right, threatening to kill a guy and his wife. But I mean, I think
he's the one. I would love to see him get knocked out so hard. He runs his mouth so much. If
there's ever going to be a time when there's going to be another really good NBA fight, it is going to be during the bubble, because they have all this pent up frustration that they're just limited in what they can do. So I could see like the 11th man on a team just being like, fuck this, I'm going to punch this guy in the face. Like, especially when it gets to a series that you're going to lose.
Is there any repercussions for it? Like,
you get a suspension and a fine.
But why would you care at the end of the season, I guess?
Well, the suspension would carry over to next year, right? And the fine might be pretty big. But and that's also the other interesting dynamic, because we discussed obviously the boycott last week, but since we discussed it, a lot of news or leaks came out about the dynamic. They had that all the players gathered, so whatever it was, the 250 players gathered for a meeting to discuss what they were going to do and to discuss their options. And there's been like bits and pieces that have leaked out about the dynamic within those discussions that happened. And it's always difficult to tell how much of it's true, because some of it's been leaked by one source and then discredited by another. But basically, it involves the fact that the young players felt that LeBron James was really condescending in what he said. That LeBron James was supposedly a little bit upset with the Bucks because he felt like they shouldn't have decided to boycott first by themselves, because that it made everyone else look bad, basically. Because it was like, oh, you guys think it's serious enough for you not to play? Well, now we look like assholes because we were willing to play, so it looks like we don't care about this cause.
So is that him just wanting to be numero uno?
Yeah, he just wants to be the kind of catalyst for it all.
It's hard because supposedly, too, coming from the Bucks reaction to it was like, we were forfeiting that game, and we didn't expect everyone else to not play because we forfeited the game. Like, the Bucks treated it as if they were forfeiting and that everyone else was going to play their games as normal, and that they were going to play a game the next time against the Magic, and the series, instead of being 3-1, was going to be 3-2, which is the ultimate smack in the face to how confident they were going to beat the Magic. They were literally like, we don't need this game. We're happy. You guys can get back into this series 3-2. We're still pretty confident we can win one of the remaining 2 games.
All right. And I guess the last thing we can talk about before we get into our Premier League preview is the finish of the golf. Did you boys watch that one at all? Well, Eddie, I know you watched that one, Eddie. Sorry to pour salt on an open wound there, Eddie.
It's okay. So for context, as Sam and Frank know, I had a bet on Dustin Johnson winning the tournament that I placed on the Thursday, and so was feeling pretty good about it going into the final round. He was tied with Matsuyama at 1 under going into the final round, and then he stretched his lead earlier on. He was 4 under at one point, and then nearest challenger was 1 under. So it really started to look like he might just pull away from the pack. I knew I was kind of screwed because all of the commentators, like every single one of them, was like, I don't know how anyone can catch Dustin Johnson right now. Like, this is a competition for second place. There's nothing that's going to stop DJ right now. Like, everything was relentless. They're like, he's driving the ball so well. He's not missing any fairways. His iron play is so good, and his putting is reliable. And there's no way anyone can get close. And then maybe 2 holes later, he was tied for the lead.
Sounded Duke Kersey, didn't it?
It's just one of those things, when you hear commentators really trying to drill something home, it's like whenever they're like, this guy hasn't missed a field goal attempt in 7 years, and it's like, well, he's just shanked that one.
There we go. So Dustin lost in the playoff, didn't he, to Rahm? That's all I saw, but I didn't really see the kind of, was it like a really good putt? Was it a terrible shot? What actually happened?
So Rahm took the lead. I think it was on the 15th hole. It was a par 5. He sliced his tee shot into the trees, and the beginning of the trees, it's thick trees, thick bush, and if you go in the trees, it's out of bounds. Like, the edge of the rough, which is only a couple of yards of rough to the right-hand side of the fairway on that hole, is out of bounds. And he sliced it in there, and so it was like, well, that's going to be out of bounds, and that's probably him out of the tournament, like out of the running to win the tournament. And he got lucky that it went deep into the trees, hit a tree, and came back out. And he was then able to salvage that position and get a birdie on the par 5. He hit an incredible third shot, which put him ahead. And Dustin Johnson then went on to the 18th down, 1 down. John Rahm was already in the clubhouse, and Dustin Johnson sank like an incredible putt for birdie to take it to the playoffs.
That was one of the crazy putt.
Yeah, one of the best putts. Like one of the best putts you've seen in a long time in terms of a meaningful putt, right? And then they went to the playoffs. They were just sudden death, 18th hole. They both hit their seconds. Dustin Johnson put himself in a pretty decent position where you thought he was definitely getting a 4, and if not possibly had a chance at a birdie. And Jon Rahm overhit his second shot and was at the back of the green. And it was a green with a lot of, Frank's favorite word, a lot of undulations on the green.
Oh my God, the undulations were unreal on that green.
And he was 66 feet from the hole. And again, the commentators were like, Jon Rahm's a great putter, but he is going to have to come up with a miracle to even have himself within 5 feet of the hole on this one. And he hit his putt, and just me watching it, you're kind of like, he hit it, I'm watching it, and then there's this moment where it starts to drop towards the hole, and I was like, oh God, it's going to go in. And then you got to just slowly watched it come in. And yeah, he sank it 66 feet out to win it. I mean, Dustin Johnson then took his putt, but the chances of Dustin Johnson then sinking another putt, if that had happened, you would have argued that it was the greatest sequence of putting probably in history.
Yeah.
But it's a shame for Dustin Johnson because his great putt, A, was outdone, and then B, was meaningless.
Yeah, I mean, Dustin Johnson's putt was super impressive because it double broke. I mean, it broke the one way and then came all the way back and then broke back in. But then watching Rahm's putt, he was aiming like 90 degrees in the other direction when he started that putt. I mean, he went over that undulation and then it just started coming down. And once it got about halfway, yeah, I mean, pretty much thought the same thing as you. Like, either this is going right in or this could go by 10 feet. Like, it was moving pretty quick.
Yeah,
so
that's
there's
the
always
other
that chance that if it didn't hit, it was going way past.
Like, Dustin Johnson's pace on his putt, that to me was actually the more incredible thing. Like, he had the pace on his down. It was perfect. So his just like went in the hole. And if he'd had missed, say it had missed by an inch, it was going to stop within a foot. So even if he'd missed, you would have said, wow, that was an incredible putt. Whereas Jon Rahm's was going at a great speed and just getting faster. So you're right. Like, if he hadn't hit the hole, he was going another 5-6 feet past it. So it was one of those situations, if you're Dustin Johnson, you would have been like, I was so close there to being in a situation where Jon Rahm has a very difficult par putt, and instead now I have to sink an incredible birdie putt just to have another shot at this. And the great situation too, right, is it's part of the FedEx playoffs. So they've got the final of the FedEx playoffs. So the top 30 players in the FedEx rankings are going at it next week, and it starts on Friday. So it's a Friday to Monday tournament to give them a little bit of a break. And so I think after those results, I think like they're both in the top 5. I think it might be Dustin Johnson's 1. I think Jon Rahm might be 3rd now, maybe 2nd now after that. So that's kind of an interesting thing too, because they're obviously going to be going head to head immediately after. And the FedEx Cup playoff final has that cool format where it's handicapped at the start. So like Dustin Johnson as the number 1 seed is going to start 10 under par, and then the next number 2 starts 8 under par, number 3 starts 6 under par. It's like a cool format for a tournament.
Yeah, and Sam, there actually was a slight Duca curse for Dustin Johnson because my father was watching the tournament and he texted me about halfway through, does Dustin Johnson ever win? And I said, yeah, actually he's won twice already this year and he got second at the PGA Championship. He's doing pretty well. And he goes, I don't think he's going to win. And then of course he didn't win.
The killer with Dustin Johnson, he has no personality, right? Like, he has zero personality. He's just this walking golfing machine, basically. He's so boring. And also, even like when he sank the putt on the 18th, his reaction was so muted. Like, you would have thought he just made a putt in like a mini golf challenge. Whereas when Jon Rahm sang his putt, he went absolutely crazy. I think Jon Rahm's like kind of an asshole and a crybaby. But even so, like, you look at that difference in a way. Jon Rahm's celebration, I think, sucked the air out of Dustin Johnson no matter what. Whereas Dustin Johnson's reaction on the 18th was sort of just like, well, that was cool. I guess I can still win.
Well, what do you want him to be, like Shooter McGavin?
Yeah, what do you need? Like, do you need him to do some sort of like cartwheel or something like that?
No, I want him to have a personality. I want him to be like, hey, I get to play golf for a living, and I make tons and tons of money, and I married into the Gretzky family, so I married into a family that's like even richer than I am, and life is pretty good.
So then maybe that's his issue. Maybe he really hates golf, and he's thinking, why do I have to keep playing golf when I have a sugar mama that can just provide for me? Why am I being forced to continue to play this stupid game?
Maybe. And, maybe why it is, it's his brother is his caddy. So maybe he's just
His
trying
brother
to keep...
needs the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing it for the family.
Maybe he is an actual robot, and his brother has him programmed to just keep playing so he can make money.
Can you guess what his brother's name is?
Yes, it's got to be, starts with a B.
No.
Is it BJ and DJ?
It rhymes with Dustin, sort of.
Justin?
No.
Justin Johnson, no.
It's Austin Johnson. So they got Dustin and Austin.
Wow, that wasn't their most creative moment for the parents, was it?
No, and who knows? Maybe there's a third brother called Justin. It wouldn't be that surprising.
AJ, DJ, JJ. Oof.
That brother's probably his manager, also forcing him to play.
Maintains the robot.
Well, they were making a big deal out of it yesterday because his brother supposedly really takes the reading the greens seriously. They were speaking about it in a way that, like, most as if most caddies don't give a shit, as if the player's like, how do you think this one's going to break? And the caddy's like, I don't know. Just give me my 10% and leave me alone. I carry the clubs. Shut up. But like he has really been working on making sure he has the greens measured out perfectly, and that then when they're actually taking the putts, it's kind of him giving the primary read on the putts. So he's obviously very focused on keeping his gig as his brother's caddy.
I mean, that's kind of like the ultimate like alpha brother scenario, isn't it? It's like, you work for me, you tell me what to do so I can earn way more than you.
I mean, I'll put it out there. I'll happily be Dustin Johnson's caddy. 10% of his prize winnings would be a pretty sweet deal.
Maybe this is like a free, like the free Britney Spears situation. Dustin Johnson is being forced to work against his will by his brothers. It's a free Dustin Johnson 2020. We should start campaigning.
I like that we're not only
playing.
Yeah. I like that we're not only speculating that he's being forced to play against his will, but we're also speculating that he has other brothers who are also participating in this.
Yeah,
as far as we know,
some sort of like DJ conspiracy. But also, we're saying he has no free will because he's a robot.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And Wayne Gretzky is part of the liberal elite who's just got in on it, so it's the way the liberals are maintaining their control over the golfing world.
I think that pretty much wraps up the current events of sports, right?
No, that was pretty much it.
Right,
U.S. Open tennis.
U.S.
Open in tennis has started today. So far, no shocks. Actually, Zverev, who we obviously my adopted son, just knocked out Anderson, which was a pretty tough round one matchup for him. 3-1.
Okay. He'll break.
The best thing about gambling on first round tennis or like qualifier tennis for the Grand Slams is you can pick about 15 players and still get about even money. It's such a weird part.
Oh, sometimes under, right? Like. So, but yeah, no, it'll be interesting. There's no interest the first round. I mean, Diego Schwartzman went out. It's kind of a surprise. But other than that, I think certainly on the men's side of the draw, you'll see all of the main sort of usual suspects get through the first couple of rounds pretty easily.
I saw someone got COVID. Was there anyone kind of like highly seeded or?
I didn't see that, so I couldn't tell you. But no one seems to be missing from the main set of players, but I don't know. The only interesting one too this evening, which obviously can't encourage people to watch it because they won't be able to listen to this until it's over. But Isner is playing Steve Johnson, which is a good matchup of two big servers, which is always a little bit of fun.
Well, let's get to our highly anticipated 2020-2021 Premier League preview.
We got to start, Frank, by teaching you how to say Premier.
No, Premier.
There we go.
Nailed it. You already sound so much more knowledgeable.
All right, take 2. Here we go.
Let's cut that out. And now we'll start our highly anticipated 2020-2021 Premier League preview.
Fantastic.
Nailed it.
Thank you. All right, so how do we want to jump in?
I mean, I guess we did a little bit of Manchester United already, right? Because I touched on the goalkeeping situation. So maybe best to start there. Plus, we've also recently discussed the Harry Maguire topic, so we've already done a little bit of a look into two of their key players. So we may as well wrap up the rest.
So new signing, confirmed today? Van der Beek from Ajax. What was it? 40 million, I think I saw.
I think 44 million. Yeah, it looks like.
Oh, great starting point. Before we even jump in, I would like a nice explanation of how the hell signings and contracts work in European football. Because even though I've been now watching pretty close, I'd say for 7-8 years, I still do not understand signings and contracts and transfers and loans. It just makes no sense to me.
The users will now know how in depth and detail this Premier League preview when the first question is, what are these things?
No, I mean, I understand obviously when a person goes on loan or when a person is signed and things like that, but I don't get how set contracts are and how they can go on loan and how you can buy out a player and things like that. That's what confuses me. Like a price to get a player.
The buying out the player is probably, if you're thinking of the Messi contract situation, that's probably the most complicated aspect, and it's pretty unusual. So start from the basic principle, which is historically, up until not that long ago, really, the idea was you signed a contract with a football club and you were basically contracted to them for life. So you didn't sign a sort of 2 or 3 year deal. The idea was that they had sort of first refusal. You would sign your 4-year deal or whatever, but if they wanted to sign you again, you had to sign with them again. And so the only way to get out of your contract was for another team to literally buy the rights to you from that team. So they had to reach an agreement with your club who owned you for the rights to then take you on. And where it would then differ from the US again is that when you buy a player, rather than a player being traded and you take on his existing contract, when you're bought, you renegotiate your contract. So
I guess that would be a good way for lower market teams who don't generate a lot of revenue to have talent come up through the ranks and then sell them basically and make some profit out of it.
Exactly. And particularly, so then there was a period where the clubs had all the power. So players basically did what they were told. You've now, over the last 20, 30 years, evolved more into the idea of player power. And so from that, basically, you'd now almost argue that the contracts themselves are meaningless, because what will happen is a good player will almost every year, or at most 2 years, either demand a new contract or demand to leave. So to touch on that, what will happen is then, if I'm director of football, or I'm the manager of one team and I want to buy a player from another, you can't tap up the player, you can't contact the player directly. You start by contacting his club and trying to work out what fee they want for the player. Once you've agreed a fee in principle with their club, you can then speak to the player about his contractual terms. And he can refuse.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. So for instance, if he doesn't think the contract you're going to offer him is enough, he can refuse.
Yeah, and that happens. So you'll have moments where a fee will be agreed for a player and it looks like he's going to leave. And then he decides either he's just not interested in the move, or they're not able to reach an agreement on the sort of, salary or other bonuses and stuff that he wants. And then the other topic, I guess, for you. So then, and what really caused that shift was there was a player called Bosman, and I think it was in the 1980s, the Bosman ruling, maybe early 90s. And basically, he went to the European court and argued that his rights were being infringed by his inability to leave and join another club at the end of his contract. And he won his case, and so now that created the idea of leaving on what is termed a Bosman ruling. So the idea being that when your contract expires, you are free to go anywhere that you want. So you'll sign your 4-year deal, your 4-year contract is done, and now you can sign for any club for free. The exception being players under the age of 24. If you leave on a free transfer, you then get some compensation from the club that they signed for, because it's a way to try and reward the club for having sort of invested in a young player's development.
So the free transfers are still now always, though, after a 4-year contract?
Well, I mean, 4 years is a typical length of term, but It's when your contract expires. You can sign a
Okay.
contract for as, Fabregas famously signed a 10-year deal with Arsenal. But you'll get sometimes players sign 1-year deals, particularly towards the end of their careers, if they're in their mid-30s or they'll sign a 1-year deal because they think that they can sort of put themselves in the shop window for a year and get better offers elsewhere.
And then in terms of a player going on loan, does that cost the team, or does the team make anything from that? Or is that just a way for him to just kind of get some good?
It can vary. So sometimes sometimes clubs have like a contractual relationship with another club where they'll kind of give them players to get match playing experience or something like that before they come back to the parent club. So you've got the parent feeder club. So that's one way loans work. Usually, say the Premier League will loan people out to like the lower leagues of England or other clubs, for example. But when you have more like high profile players, sometimes you pay like a fee. So you could pay like a loan fee of 2 million, and then you have a kind of percentage play around with their contract. So sometimes a club may say, right, we're still paying all their wages, but he goes to play for you. Or they might say, right, we want you to pay his entire wages during the period and give us X amount of money. Or they might say, well, we'll pay half, you pay half. Then there's other stipulations like can't play in cup competitions because you don't want the player to be cup tied. So, if you theoretically needed them back, you could. So loans kind of basically work like that. They're a fixed amount of time. So you can get a month loan, 3 months, a season. There's kind of loads of different angles to a loan in that respect.
Yeah, if you think about it, Frank, obviously you've kind of followed Blackburn a little bit more closely because of me over the past few years. And every season we're taking 2 or 3 players on loan from Premier League clubs.
Yeah.
Typically, Blackburn will be paying a fraction of their wages because they can't afford, when they're taking a player from City, they can't afford to pay his full wages. So they're paying they'll negotiate what the percentage is that they can afford to pay, and then City will pay the rest of that.
That makes sense now. Where was this 7 years ago?
All you have to do is ask.
I hope there's someone listening now who they've just started to get into it, and they're just like, "Wow, that was great." Thank you, guys. It's enlightening. But yeah, okay. So let's get on with it.
We're talking about Man U, right?
Yeah, talk about Van de Beek.
Yes, my favorite Dawson's Creek character.
Van de Beek.
What a career arc for him, huh? From teen idol to Manchester United midfielder.
He was in a Kesha video as well. Don't forget that.
My God.
And all while somehow staying the same age.
He has a forehead that's just built to be dominant in the air, so it's not surprising that he's made it.
Going back to it, the Dean Henderson coming back to Man U is interesting because you would probably say that's the first time that De Gea is now going to have a genuinely very good goalkeeper kind of hot on his tails. Because at the moment, kind of De Gea he's going to be number one. But now that Henderson's back, and a lot of people really want to see Henderson play because of the England prospects. So that's going to be interesting for Man U, what they do with their goalkeeper.
It's an interesting one, too, because Dean Henderson has the name of like a 55-year-old drunk in a pub. It's quite difficult for me with his name to think of him as being an elite athlete.
Dean isn't the best. And also you look at some of the footballers of past with Dean, and you've got like Dean Holdsworth, Dean Henderson. They're all just, not Dean Saunders, that was the other one. They're all just thuggish footballers.
Yeah, there won't be a Dean Hewitt popping out anytime soon, I can say that much.
What about Dustin Hewitt?
Oh, yeah, Justin, Austin Hewitts. They're going to be dominating the world of golf 15, 20 years from now.
Yeah, they did great in tennis.
Exactly.
For me, Man U look good. I do think they've got a pretty strong... speaking of that, going to the Messi situation, I don't think they'll sign Messi. I know that they're one of the people, but I think Messi's going to Man City, to be honest. So that massively affects kind of what people think about City. But For me, I'd say it's kind of Manchester United and Chelsea, right? That's what I see as kind of like the third and fourth place, who will finish above the other. And the thing for me is like Chelsea have now just signed so many good players, and I think they've signed probably better and they're going to transform a bit. Whereas I still think United have this propensity to mess up or just play terribly or completely not implode necessarily, but they've got those kind of players where like Pogba, if they just don't turn up, then Man U just do nothing. I'm actually excited for Man U next year with like Greenwood and all that, but I don't know. I think with the signings that Chelsea have, if I'm going to put Man U anywhere, I'll probably put them fourth.
Yeah, I mean, I've already given my hot take of the season, right? Which is that my bold prediction is that United finish above Liverpool this year. I would like to see a few more of their transfer dealings before I really say I'm confident in that selection, because I was sort of expecting that they might get Sancho, and it seems like that deal is dead in the water, which is a shame, because I do think that if you'd had Sancho, Rashford, Greenwood up front, that it would have been a terrifying combination of pace and ability, and also just great for the England side too, to have three key players.
That would have been so cool.
Playing together on a weekly basis. But I still think that they are on an upward curve, and I think that they'll significantly close the gap to the top two this year, I think. But I'm expecting a little bit of a drop off from Liverpool. So my hot take is United to finish above Liverpool.
I mean, I think that's the question, right? I think your hot take isn't so much on the United front. I think it's on the Liverpool front. And if you guys think that Liverpool are finally going to start to come back down to reality. I mean, because when I look at the teams, I always feel like City has the better team. I mean, like they have maybe not way more talent, but I feel like they always have more talent. But Liverpool just seem to win the big games until you bet on them. But for the most part, they're like always in games. They never have really bad matches. But eventually that's got to stop. I mean, eventually they're going to have these like shit matches and crappy losses that bring them back to reality, right? I mean,
that's a difficult one, because obviously we previewed the Community Shield, which we didn't actually mention in our roundup of the weekend sport. But we previewed the Community Shield last week, and I think we were all in agreement that Liverpool were the most likely victors, even though it's just a sort of glorified friendly and it doesn't really matter. But still, that the fact that they have just a sort of higher quality of player and a little bit more strength and depth, you would have expected them to win. To me, the fact that they lost the Community Shield is meaningless for the most part. But I do think that it's a representation that since football restarted, Liverpool have looked beatable in a lot of matches.
Yes.
And I think that they've probably lost their sense of invincibility, which they definitely had for a while. They did have that sense, and you saw it, right? They would go down in a match, and you could tell that it didn't bother them at all, that they just had total confidence that they were going to come back and not only win, but probably win easily. And they did that time and time again. And I think that sense of invincibility is gone. And that's going to be the interesting test. If early in the season they do fall behind in a few games early, or if they, say, draw a match they didn't expect to draw or lose one, to see whether or not they're able to recover and get it. Because if City keep up the pace, like obviously they won the season comfortably last year. But if City are just copy and pasting what they did last year, to match City on points still requires a really great season.
Yeah, absolutely. I honestly think since Liverpool got humped by Watford, what was it, in February maybe? Around then, I actually think that they've lost some of the big games. They lost in the FA Cup. They lost in the Atletico Madrid game. I do think that they're actually there for the taking. Don't get me wrong, they're still a really good team. But I always think one of the issues with Liverpool is the key players, when they're not there, I think they are markedly worse. Like when Van Dijk isn't in defence, or when they haven't got someone up front like Salah or something like that. I do feel like they're way more exposed than Man City. And I think that's going to be an issue for them, because this season's going to be shorter. So I think it's about 5 weeks shorter. And at the moment, I mean, the only signing they had was the kind of Greek, defender or fullback, I think they signed. I don't
Yeah,
know.
he's a left back, yeah.
Yeah, I think since that Watford loss, I honestly think Liverpool have been beatable in most of their games. I can't really pin them for winning the league next year. But then again, Eddie, I guess if you're saying that Man U may finish above them, how high are you putting Man U compared to how low you're putting Liverpool?
I mean, I'm still saying that City are going to win the league. So in terms of actual placements, I'm putting Liverpool third and United second. In terms of drop-off, obviously, it's not going to just be United getting 30 points better or whatever they would need. It's a combination of United getting, say, 10 to 15 points better and Liverpool getting 10 to 15 points worse. And now I don't even think technically that's enough to close the gap that there was between the two of them last year.
He's still a few points off.
But you know what I mean.
Great math wizard.
No, yeah, but you know what I mean. It's still that idea that you're going to get Liverpool more down around the 80-point mark, and I think United can get up to about 80 points.
Yeah, and the thing with Man U is they drew, I think it was about 12 games last year. And you think if the team is going to get better and they're more attuned with Solskjaer's playing style, they're better, chances are that more of those draws will become wins. Like, that's kind of how I see it with teams that draw a lot. They're kind of on the fence about how they're playing, but I think Man U will be better. But then again,
plus you just also have to say, if you compare United 12 months ago to now, even just Mason Greenwood is a huge difference, right? Because obviously he was on the books 12 months ago and he was a squad figure. But over the course of the season, he went from being a young player that they expected a lot from in the future to someone that they now expect to deliver and to contribute right sort of in this moment. Yeah. And so you just look at that change, that it's not that he is a new signing, but in some respects, in comparing their squad of last August to this August, Greenwood is a new signing.
Speaking of that, go on, Frank.
I was going to say, you brought up the shift in points with City, gaining 10 to 15, and Liverpool kind of dropping back down a little bit. If what we talked about last week with Messi does come true and he comes to City, do you think that makes them a better team or kind of still at the same level? I mean, obviously we know how good he is, but I mean, the whole idea of having him put in on a whole new team that has never played with him before and potentially knocking down some of your younger talent, that could step up later in the year. Do you think it's going to be a significant improvement getting him, or is it kind of just going to keep them at the same pace?
I'm a bit torn because I've been one of those people in the camp. I think Messi is the more talented player, but I've always argued that Ronaldo is the better player. And a big part of that to me was always the fact that he was as adaptable in not only the role, but also the leagues that he played in, that each one of which presents a very different challenge. And I've always kind of argued that Messi couldn't make it in the Premier League. Not that he would be terrible, but that he's not going to be the type of player he was in La Liga, just because the pace of play and the physicality is not going to allow him to play in the same way that he does. Now, for that reason, if I were City, I wouldn't sign Messi. I personally would not do it. And I think it also, as we discussed in the last episode, it's going to get in the way of some of the development of younger players. But obviously having Messi around, I think, if you're going to have a Premier League team sign him, having the one managed by Guardiola is the perfect situation for him, because he's going to know how to get the best out of Messi. So I do think the Messi signing, in a way, even though I don't think it would be a good one, probably cements them winning the title this year.
Yeah, I mean, last year they finished on 81 points. It's not a bold prediction, but I do think Man City will go 90 plus this season. I know they did it last year year before when they won it, but I do think they'll not easily hit 90 points, because that implies that they should be close to 100. But I do think they'll have a 90 plus season, and I don't think you'll really see that many teams around them. I'd probably say they win this league 9 points plus. I'd probably go with.
I mean, City's big signing of the summer so far is Nathan Ake, and I'm not the biggest Nathan Ake fan, and they may have overpaid for him. a little bit, because £40 million for a defender is a lot of money, even in today's transfer market. So it might be a little bit much, but still the fact that they are giving themselves another option in central defense and a player who will do the things you need to do in the Premier League, in that he won't shy away from a challenge. He's physical. He'll do basic defending well. To me, that's what they need. And to have him, assuming that Laporte is fit this year too, which obviously him missing so much of last season hurt them so much. If you're having him and, the two of them paired together on a week in, week out basis, defensively, you have to expect them to improve as well.
What about the Lampard revolution then? So they were obviously banned from signing players, and that's all good. So they've signed Havertz, Werner, which is a fantastic buy, Ziyech, Thiago Silva's obviously just joined as well. I think they look really good. I'm putting them down for third, just from the fact that the signings have all made sense. They can already build upon some of the really good players they've had this year, Pulisic, for example. But Arrizabalaga just said that he's staying on the strength of what Chelsea have just done in the market as well. I think, actually, it's a kind of similar scenario with Arsenal. I think Chelsea are on for a really good season. I put them on the strength of the signings alone and the commitment that Lampard seems to be getting for that kind of play style. I see them finishing third.
I think Chelsea will be better, and I think overall the top of the table is going to be closer and more competitive. So I do think Chelsea, and I think in Werner and in Havertz, I think those are two really interesting attacking players to have added to their team. I'm a little bit skeptical about the Thiago Silva signing. To me, it's kind of as if they thought, oh, shoot, we're missing David Luiz. Can we find a replacement for him so that we have another awful aging defender in our back four? But, I think that will be fine. But I don't know. I don't think he will be a key figure for them this season. But I agree with you that Chelsea will be better. I just think Manchester United will improve by more than Chelsea improved by. But I do expect Chelsea to be closer and to be better and to be good to watch this season too, which will be the interesting part of it.
So we're kind of agreed that the top four looks like those four, basically.
Yeah, I can't see anyone else finishing in the top four.
No. Actually, for me, the race behind them is, I actually think, a little bit more interesting, because you had some teams last year that massively overperformed. Sheffield United, for a start, were favourites to go down, and I'm not suggesting that they're going to repeat it this year, but I actually think the transitions that you see, the contrast you see between Arsenal and Spurs is actually going to be a really interesting play out next year. And I think, just for the kind of prediction here, I think Arsenal will finish fifth this season, is what I'm going to say. The great thing about Arsenal recently for me is that they just beat Liverpool in the Community Shield. And okay, say what you want about the quality or the care of that league, but they still beat a big team when they were in front of them. In the FA Cup last year, they beat Man City with a really good style of football, very kind of direct and counter-attacking. They soaked up pressure for a team that notoriously no one cares for defensively. They have so many calamities. But then they beat Chelsea in the final as well. They beat Liverpool, I think, in the middle, just after they beat City in the FA Cup. They beat Liverpool in the Premier League. I just think Arteta he's prevented those defensive collapses, and he's got a real strength of mentality going on with that team. And I think all of the noises coming out about Aubameyang signing is really positive. It looks like they're signing Magalhaes, which will be a really good signing defensively. The only thing is, they look pretty weak in the centre of mid for me. I just think Guendouzi, Xhaka and Torreira just aren't cutting it. But then that's what's interesting, is that the people they're being linked with are where that weakness is, that kind of playmaker. So Thomas Partey, even Coutinho has been linked at the moment. And I just feel like with all of their youth players coming through, like Saka, Martinelli had a really good season as well. You can tell I'm an Arsenal fan, by the way. Willock, Nketiah as well. I just think they're on... Honestly, this is probably the first genuine feel-good factor I've had around Arsenal in over 5 years. And saying, oh, well, fifth. But I do think that's where they need to be this season. They need to be showing progress and getting back into Europe through the league rather than through the cup. But I have a really good feeling about Arsenal next year. Can they break top four? I'm not so sure, but if it gels and it keeps gelling the way it is, they may be able to kind of pick off Man U or Chelsea.
Yeah, I think it's a shame that fifth doesn't have a significance really, because it's going to be a great battle, I think, between Arsenal, Spurs, even Wolves, Leicester. I mean, there's a good amount of teams up there that can all compete for that fifth spot, and it'd be really cool if they were competing for something. I mean, obviously, yeah, getting top 5 is great, but to not get Champions League, that would be much better. But yeah, I mean, the big thing. So I did some looking into the Spurs, and the fan base
just to so we don't, as another part of your process, just Spurs, not the Spurs.
I thought I said Spurs.
I've been looking into the Spurs.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Unless you're trying to buy some more accessories for your cowboy boots.
I thought I had said Spurs. I'm sorry. I apologize. You've taught me that many moons ago. But with my ear down to the Spurs fan base, they are hot on the Matt Doherty signing.
Did you hear them clinking as they were walking towards you?
Yep, I did. I heard it. Yep. There's been the tweets have been through the roof about that signing and how he's going to fit perfectly in that system. So that's a big one. And they're all healthy now again. I mean, that was a big knock on them last year, is that Kane was out for forever, and then Son was out for a decent amount of time. So having that team back and healthy.
For now, a lot of teams are healthy before the season starts. So I mean, obviously, but it's going to be.
Well, listen, when you send Son back to South Korea to do basic training, there's a risk he comes back injured or shot.
Yeah, at least he came back alive.
Not only did he come back alive.
What went wrong?
Not only did he come back alive, he came back as the top marksman.
Yeah, I mean, Donald Trump's probably an Arsenal supporter. He was probably desperately trying to start World War III while Son was doing his military service.
Wow.
But there we go. There's our scoop for the day.
That's a real long way for the president to make sure that Arsenal have a successful season, right?
With Donald Trump, would you rule it out, Sam?
I would rule out the complexity of the plan rather than the plan itself.
But here's my issue. I think with both Arsenal and Spurs, I need to see more of what they do over the remainder of the window, because to me, both of them lack a lot of strength and depth, and so I need to see what they both have the makeup of a good squad. With Spurs, I see no reason to be that much more optimistic about their outlook this year than last year. I think the chances of getting into top 4 is gone. To me, the Spurs now, I kind of mentioned every team so far as being in a kind of upwardly, apart from Liverpool, but moving in the right direction. And to me, Spurs is the first team that I hit in the table where I think that they missed their chance to establish themselves as one of the genuinely big clubs in England and in Europe, and they may never get that opportunity again.
Is that like 2 years ago when they were really straddling like second for a long period of time, and they had everyone firing all cylinders, and they just did not spend in that window?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously they missed the chance when Leicester won the Premier League. Obviously, Spurs, that was the year Spurs should have won it, really. And that's not to take away from Leicester, but realistically, that was the year. If you told Spurs, look, all of the other big teams are going to really mess up, you have to win the league that year. So the fact that they did
Arsenal as well. I remember Arsenal being top at one point, maybe like early January or something, and it was
But so there's that, and then also I just think anyway you're coming towards the window is closing on some of the players they have in their squad. Harry Kane, even if he hangs around for the rest of his career, you're not talking another decade, so you don't have long to build around Harry Kane. And to me, I just need to see. And the other thing I'll say too is the only thing you touched on when you speak about Arsenal. I think you're right in that what Arteta at least has done for now is he's got all of those players to buy into his approach. So Aubameyang and Lacazette and all of them look really happy playing for him, even when they're being asked to do defensive work, which is surprising because I think you would say that squad is packed full of players who love to sulk. And so the fact that he's got them in a mindset where they're not sulking at all is impressive. But I want to see whether or not that changes if in October or November they are already out of the title race and sort of struggling a little bit. Will they revert to their old habits? With Spurs, I just can't see, unless Harry Kane single-handedly, and I guess Son as well with him, just drag Spurs through. Because the thing you can still say about Spurs, they're good enough to beat all but 4 or 5 teams in the league. So if they just consistently get pulled through matches by those couple of players, they might keep themselves in it. But I just don't see how they do it.
Would you put Spurs over Arsenal then, both of you, or Arsenal over Spurs?
I'm going to have Arsenal 5th, but signings could change that. I'm penciling them in 5th and 6th, and I'd like to kind of, when the window closes in 6 weeks' time or whatever, I'd like to go back and think, right, have they made signings that I think address the obvious needs that they have?
Yeah, I think Arsenal above them. But this actually, Eddie, since we're on Spurs, this brings up my top 5. And I didn't want to give you an easy one and do, well, both of you an easy one, and do top 5 goal scorers from last year. So I'm going to go top 5 assists last year.
Spurs assists or Premier League?
Premier League, top 5.
I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be so off on this one because
it's a tough one.
I don't even know where to start.
And I said Spurs because tied for 5th is Son with 10
That's
assists
surprising.
last year. Yeah,
okay,
that's why I thought it was surprising.
I'm going to say that Trent Alexander-Arnold is in the top 5.
Yes, Trent Alexander-Arnold is number 2 with 13.
And then Kevin De Bruyne?
Yes, clear number 1. 20 assists last year, 7 more than Arnold.
3 and 4 is going to be tough.
3, 4, and then you have a tie for 5th with Son. So,
Sané at Liverpool?
No, wrong Liverpool player.
Or Firmino?
Also wrong Liverpool player. And the funny part is there's 2 left.
Salah?
Yeah, Salah. Yep.
And Robertson?
Yep, and Robertson. Good. And you're missing one more that was tied for 5th. It's another City player.
Another City
You'll be
player?
able to get it.
Sterling?
No.
It's not, how do you pronounce his name? Like Zivkovic or whatever he's called?
No, he didn't play enough.
He didn't play?
Not enough, I don't think.
I'll give you a hint. They're announced plans for a statue built for him.
Oh, Aguero?
No.
David Silva?
Silva.
Wait, they've announced a statue for David Silva?
Yeah, like for next year. You didn't see that?
I didn't see that.
But wasn't David Silva the first signing of the kind of new consortium, wasn't he? I think. So I guess.
And look, don't get me wrong. David Silva is a very good player, and he's been a big part of what City have achieved. So I'm not knocking that. I'm not trying to say, but statue, like if I looked at that City side, I would have built maybe the statue for Aguero because he has the defining moment, right? You can have the statue tied to the goal against QPR to win them the title. David Silva, I mean, at that rate, you're going to have to build a statue to Kevin De Bruyne if he hangs around. You're going to have to build a statue to Aguero. They're just going to have like 25 statues outside of the ground. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe they figured out that they're not going to have any fans in the stadium for a long time.
So they're just going to make statues.
Yeah, they're just going to put them in.
It's going to be like, I can imagine outside the Etihad just be like the terracotta army.
No, not outside. Inside.
What they're going to
yeah, so instead of having fans in the seats, you're going to be looking and be like, why are there 155 David Silvas watching this match? You're like, oh, well, they just decided he was
so creeped out.
We can only hope that the artist is the same one that did the Ronaldo statue. He should be commissioned to do every European football statue for the rest of time.
Well, actually, City would probably be smart to use them because then they could just build one statue and then they could have all the players think that it was built for them. Yeah, so you'll have like Raheem Sterling being like, "I'm so proud. I got a statue of myself outside the stadium," and Aguero will also be thinking it, and David Silva will also be thinking it. So it might be the right move.
Top six, we're all pretty agreed. Like what it looks like for me. The teams that finish kind of behind them are also pretty interesting as well. Like Wolves, well, Leicester, I'm putting way below, but also like Burnley, Sheffield United, because Leicester.
Can I jump in quickly for just my one other big hot take?
Go on.
Sheffield United will be in a relegation battle this year.
I wouldn't actually disagree that much with it. Now that Dean Henderson's gone as well, they're not the kind of, you're not going to think that because we just got like top 8, I can't remember where they finished, like 8th, 9th, top 10 either way. They're not going to spend. They're going to consolidate in the Premier League. So as far as they're concerned, I don't think they care if they finish 16th. They just wouldn't want to spend the money that would then jeopardize them if they did get relegated. So I wouldn't actually disagree with you. I think they'll plummet. I also think Burnley...
But don't say they haven't spent, because they did spend £18.5 million on Aaron Ramsdale from Bournemouth. So that's one that we'll be speaking about for years to come.
But yeah, I think Sheffield United will drop. I think it's that second season syndrome, right? New team comes in, they're a bit of an unpredictable. No one really knows how to play them. And they just managed to keep that momentum going and stay up there. And I think that's exactly what happened with them. I'd probably Burnley as well. I think they overachieved last season, so I imagine them dropping off. I think the team looks like it's kind of aging a little bit. If they keep Nick Pope, great. I think he got nearly 15 clean sheets last year, so he had a great season. But I can't really see them being top 10 this time. And Wolves is a really interesting one, because I think they played something like 60 games last year, and they won't have to do that this year because they're not in Europe. But they've lost Matt Doherty, as Frank mentioned. And if I was a Wolves fan, I'd think anything close to last year is a good season. I don't know what you guys think, but I can't imagine them thinking, right, we're spending 30-40 million now and kicking on. I would say they aim for exactly what it was, and that would be considered good.
I think Wolves drop down into a mid-table finish this year. So I think they'll be in the 9th to 12th range. And I don't think they'll ever be seriously challenging for European spots.
Well, I mean, that pretty much is exactly where then we would put, like we already said who the top 6, 7 are, right? So basically you're saying they're the next best at that point.
Yeah, but significantly behind. So I obviously think the top 6, so finishing Arsenal and Spurs, are quite a bit ahead of the rest. I think Leicester are the bridge between then the mid-table and the top half. But I still think Leicester are behind Spurs and Arsenal by quite a bit. And then I think it's a bit of a drop off to what I guess I'd classify as the 3rd tier then. And then have the 4th tier be the teams that I think will be fighting to stay up.
Leicester worries me. Like, I looked at their form, and they've won 4 of their last 17 in the Premier League. I don't know. I honestly just think that the Maddison Vardy got found out at that point. I think teams realised that they just need to drop a bit deeper, stop letting them get behind you as strikers, and I think it showed fundamentally. And
well, we all know my opinion of Vardy, so we don't need to go over that one again.
Eddie, what are the odds of him being top goal scorer again?
Well,
what do you put his odds at? What do you? I don't want you to look on a website. I want you to give.
I would probably give him 20 to 1.
I'd say 30 to 1. Would be fair in my mind. The only thing I think that works in Vardy's favor is that actually a lot of the big teams don't have clear dominant goal scorers, and their goals get spread out between a lot of their attacking players. So when you look at City, for example, you're going to get split time between some of the, like Aguero and Jesus, and then you also even have rotating with Sterling and with Mahrez, and then say Messi comes into that mix, and you go to Liverpool, they kind of spread their goals out a little bit between Mane and Salah, and you kind of look at all the top teams, with maybe, I guess the exception is Arsenal with Aubameyang. And even the weird thing too with a lot of those teams, their best goal scorers often don't even take their penalties. It's the other aspect too. So in the race for the top goal scorer, you're missing out on 5 to 10 goals a season just through penalty taking. So Vardy is, the thing that works in his favor is he's the best place to be a prolific goal scorer of all the sort of good players on some of the better teams.
He's getting all the opportunities.
I mean, to me, he's what?
14s.
Yeah, he's 14, anywhere from 14s to 18s.
Yeah, I would put it. I mean, to me, the likely top scorer this season, right, is Harry Kane. I'm assuming he's favorite.
He's not.
Salah is favorite. Then Kane. Then Aubameyang, because Aubameyang also takes Arsenal's penalties, right?
What odds are for Kane?
11
They're
to
close.
2, I saw.
Yeah, so Salah's like 5 or 6, and then Kane's about 6.
Okay, I mean, I would, assuming Kane is healthy, I would go for Kane.
Would you take Werner 9 to 1?
No.
All right, so
again,
Eddie,
simple.
Let me throw this out at you.
Does he take penalties for Chelsea? I don't know if he will. So that's a huge question mark.
Exactly.
So I guess let me throw this out at you then. Would you take Werner, Sterling, or Mane over Vardy? Because they're all ahead of him in the market.
Take Sterling.
The only one I would have doubts over probably is Mane, just because even though he's had moments of being quite a prolific goal scorer, he also has quite long dry spells. But I would happily take, if you made it a sort of head-to-head just match bet, and I get to take either Werner versus Vardy or Sterling versus Vardy, I would take on Vardy with either of them.
So Werner's almost not 2 to 1, probably like 3 to 2 over him. You could get you know what I'm saying? You'd probably get 3 to 2 on Vardy versus evens or odds on Werner.
Yeah, and I think I would take that. If that was a match bet going, I would take that. And I guess we, in a way, because we can do club by club, but still, I guess the easier way now to skip down is maybe let's flip it because we're doing a bit of prediction. Who do we think will go down? And we can work our way then back up the table on the basis of who we think will be in the drop zone. So Sam, who are your picks for going down and why?
I think West Brom are down. You can always guarantee one of the promoted clubs will go down, and I just think they're the weaker. So I'd probably go for West Brom. It's actually kind of difficult this year. I don't think there's any club where I would consider them pretty bad.
I'll second West Brom with you.
I think
I'll third West
Brighton.
Brom, and just we can wrap West Brom up. The most damning indictment of West Brom's situation right now is they are currently in a battle to sign a defender with Blackburn, and the fact that they are competing in the transfer market with Blackburn Rovers for players, having just been promoted, that the two of them are fighting it out over a £900,000 player from Wigan. Those are worrying signs for West Brom. And he might end, who knows? I'm very hopeful that he goes to Blackburn, and I hope that he turns out to be a Premier League quality defender. So maybe this will look bad when it looks like West Brom got this absolute bargain by signing a Premier League quality defender for £900,000. But it would still worry me as a West Brom supporter that the club is looking down into League One to sign players and to sort of add a fire sale from a club in administration as the way of they're going to figure out how to stay in the Premier League. That's not a great sign.
This is going to be my hot take, so this might be my slightly controversial one. But I think Newcastle could go down. I think the takeover situation has really messed them up, and the fact that it hasn't gone through, and there is so much pessimism now that it is still Mike Ashley, regardless of the manager they've had. So Steve Bruce at the moment, even like Benitez a couple of years ago, they always seem to just hang around that 40-point mark. They haven't signed anyone. They ended last season pretty pathetically. I think they got to saying like 2 points from 6 games. And I think I read a stat the other day that their top goal scorer in all competitions was Almiron with 8 goals, and then it was John Joe Shelby with 6. So they don't have an out-and-out goal scorer as well. So I don't think they'll spend, because we all know Mike Ashley, he won't spend, and now we know he also wants to sell the club, and it doesn't look like he's going to. They're not going to strengthen. I don't think Steve Bruce is a strong manager. They don't have a good goal scorer. So I think I'll probably put Newcastle down there.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I don't know if Newcastle would be in the drop zone for me, but they're definitely going to be there or thereabouts. I will pencil in Fulham as a team I think are going.
You took mine. I was going to say Fulham. Just made it in. They're going back down.
I watched a lot of Fulham as a supporter of a club in the Championship. I watched a lot of Fulham's matches last year, and it looked like they should have dominated the Championship based on the players they had available. And they are so frail, and they can be bullied. And that worries me if I'm them, because they're going to be outplayed by the teams at the top of the table, and they might be outfought by the teams at the bottom. So I'm going to put Fulham in there.
I love when you use frail as a description, because I just picture these 85-year-old men running around trying to kick the ball, and their legs just breaking off.
I feel like we have this discussion every week now.
I know, because it just cracks me up every time. It never gets old. I just have such a good image.
I'm going to put Villa in there rather than Fulham. I think they were lucky to stay up last year, and I don't think they will do much. And especially if Grealish goes, which it doesn't look like he's going to now, because that was a Man U target, and it doesn't look like that's happening. I would put, it's kind of Villa or Fulham for me as a toss-up, but I think I'll go Villa. What's interesting is how well do we think Leeds will do, seeing as we all don't seemingly have them down as relegation candidates. Like, are we saying that they're going to have like a Sheffield United kind of year, or are we just saying that 15th and they're fine and they don't really do much because they're spending big, they've got a good setup?
Well, I'm going to go against Villa on you on that one. I'm now a huge Villa supporter, mostly just a Jack Grealish hair supporter. But I think last year they spent a good amount of money on new recruits, and it seems like they're ready to do the same. I guess the issue is, do they want to come to Villa and play? And I think that's always, you can spend as much money as you want, but if you don't want to go to play there, you're not going to go there, right? So, but I think they'll have Grealish back. They'll have his beautiful, beautiful hair back, so that'll be nice.
Is it just the hair? Is it more the fashionable aspect of Grealish here, or the football incompetency?
If I had his hairline, I would do that undercut, no problem. It's just the way when he's running, it's just the way it flops as he's playing. It's never out of place. It's always perfect. The whole, after the match, it looks like he had just done it up. It's amazing. And he got called up this week, or today actually, right? He got called up today for his first.
It's deserved.
National cap.
He deserves to be in the England squad. I'm not sure how much they'll utilise him or play him, but it's always a little bit difficult sometimes to pick like a standout player in a pretty bad club, because you can be more outshone in a very good team as a worse player, but you obviously look better because of the players around you. Whereas I think Grealish has to stand out a lot for him to be selected. So I don't know. I think Villa could be really strong candidates to get relegated between them and Fulham. But
I think they need to sign someone. I think that's the big. If they can get a few good signings, then maybe they'll be okay. But right now, they really haven't signed anybody.
Yeah, their issue is that they signed big last year, as you touched on. And they survived on the last day.
Barely survived. Thanks to Grealish.
Yeah, well, thanks to VAR as well. They had some very good decisions go their way. But I don't know. I panic about Aston Villa because I actually tipped them last year to do kind of like a top half kind of thing. But yeah.
So who are your top three again for going out?
Newcastle are going to be my hot take, almost like Eddie's hot take of Liverpool finishing below Man U. West Brom, I think, are a lock to go down. And I'm going to go Villa slight favourites against Fulham to get relegated. So I guess what I'm doing there is saying Fulham will finish 17th.
Yeah. And then Eddie, what are your top three for going out?
For me, I mean, I've already said that I think that West Brom and Fulham will go down. And I'm going to stick to my guns on this one, and I'm going to say Sheffield United. I wouldn't say that with total confidence, but I think that they're going to be in and around the relegation zone. So, if we're going to have a couple of hot takes as my predictions, and then that way, if I'm right, I can claim to be a genius. So I've got United above Liverpool, and I'll have Sheffield United going down as well. And if both of those come right, then the listeners will be flocking to our podcast for our predictions next year.
Coupled with Sam the Squid, we've got some serious firepower within our tips and picks and random picks.
So what about the chances of a bigger team going down, like Everton?
Everton piss me off as a club. I treat them at the moment in the same kind of ilk as Newcastle. They're a big club. They've got a really good history. And then this business owner, the Iranian guy, bought them like 5 years ago. And I honestly think, obviously they've had some good signings in there, like Lukaku was one of the first signings they had. Pickford, obviously, slightly worse season last year, but still like a fantastic signing. But they have spent and wasted so much money. I mean, like when you look at like Iwobi had 34 million, Tucson, I think it was like Serge Tucson was the player, and he was like 27 million. Sigurdsson cost 43 million. Rikarlsson, in fairness, he scored, it was like 12 or 15 goals last season, but he was 52 million. And you think about what you can comparably get for that kind of money at the moment. I just think they're terrible at signings. They have spent so much money over the past 4 years, and they actually, in my opinion, have regressed. And then you think on top of that, the quality of managers that they've had over the past 5 years. Koeman is now at Barcelona. Martinez, when the guy took over in 2015, is now widely regarded as doing incredible work at Belgium. And they've currently got Ancelotti, who is one of the biggest managerial names in football, regardless of whether the kind of the best. I wouldn't say that, but certainly one of the biggest. And yet they spend all this money and they do nothing. They do absolutely nothing. They won't get relegated, but I could see Everton. I could see Everton having another poor season. I don't know if that's relegation worthy. I don't know if that's anything, but
they finished 12th last year, right?
Yeah.
Just under top 10. So
I think
they'll
be
them drop back down to 14th, 15th, and then they're there, right? They're close.
I don't think they'll be involved in the relegation fight at all. I think they're going to be. In a way, my hand is sort of forced because of the way that I've made my other predictions. That I have to have someone. I have to have someone coming out of the bottom half of the table into the top half. Yeah. And to me, that's Everton. There's not a lot of reason to believe that. I just think they do have a lot of talent in their squad, and I'm sure that they will spend, because there is money available to them. I'm sure they will spend more money in the window. So there'll probably be one or two other decent signings. Now, decent on paper. Whether or not they're decent when they actually get in the squad, who knows? Because as Sam touched on, I think the thing, what you said there, Sam, though, is some of those players you named, when they signed them, you would have thought that they were going to be great signings. Not Iwobi and not Tosin, but some of the other ones you really thought, wow, these are players you would expect to be at a top 6 club. And so it will be interesting to see, but I think I'm putting Everton in the 9th to 12th bracket, and I think they'll finish 9th or 10th.
So then what do you guys have a hot take as to a team? I guess Sheffield United would be yours, right? A team that finished well last year that's going to drop significantly.
Oh
yeah, and I think Sam sort of agreed with me, I think so.
Yeah, I think most of the teams you saw up there, but actually, because we've got a lot of teams dropping off and we haven't really picked many, so Eddie's picked Everton, I'm going to pick Southampton. I think they finished last season really well. I think ever since that 9-0 drubbing of Leicester, they have looked a completely different team. Danny Ings has just recommitted as well, and when you look at the betting for the top goal scorer, he's actually, I think, 9th or 10th, which is crazy for like a Southampton player to be up
you're
there.
right.
I think
Sam, you're right. that's just crazy.
That's just crazy. I could just stop there, right? You've got all these players like Messi might join this league, and yet Danny Ings is up there in the betting. But for me, I think Southampton will break top 10 this year. And actually, I kind of think Leeds might. I always think there's always a club that does something, and I just feel Leeds. So if I'm going to have a couple that all kind of, well, Leeds weren't in the league last year, but I think Leeds will be top 10. I think Southampton will be top 10. And I think Everton will have a poor season, but when I say poor, I think they'll just do exactly what they've done and they'll finish like 12th, 13th. Palace, we haven't really touched on. I think it really matters if Zaha stays there, whether they're kind of 12th or 16th or 17th. So if I'm going to have two teams that I'm going to put in the top 10, because I've got so many dropping out, it's going to be Southampton and Leeds.
Leeds is a pretty hot take.
Yeah, I think I'd probably disagree with you on both of those, but particularly Leeds. I think Leeds will be right in the thick of the relegation battle. I think they are of the promoted sides, they're the best positioned to have a good year. So I get what you're saying there, but still, I think they'll struggle to stay up. I think they will stay up because I think there are teams that are worse than them, but I think they'll stay up because of the fact that there are teams that are worse than them rather than them being good.
Have they had any decent signings since they've moved up to try and bolster the squad a little bit?
I mean, the marquee signing is Rodrigo, right? They just signed him for 28 million, I think it was. Really well sought after player from Valencia. I think Man City were looking at him a year or two ago as well. So that's a really good signing. They need more, but it's a really good start, I guess.
And they signed Helder Costa too, didn't they? From Wolves. They've done some decent stuff in the transfer market, and that's why I think they will be. And they have a system a little bit in the Wolves style, right, of a team being promoted who play in a way that they think can carry on to a higher level. And Leeds have put in place a system that now it might fail miserably in the sense that it might just get played off the park by better teams. But you at least know that they are going to be able to score goals at this level, and that they're sort of well organized, and that they'll be creative. Now, whether or not creative leads to results, we'll have to see.
So, I mean, that kind of touched on everyone, I think. Is anything else to sum up, or?
Yeah, I mean, there's one or two teams.
We didn't talk about Burnley.
Yeah,
we completely blanked on Burnley.
I touched on them. I don't think they're going to spend much. It's important they keep Pope. Rodriguez stays fit. But ultimately, I think that's another team that's going to be around that kind of like bottom of kind of middle of third tier, basically. They're going to be anywhere between like 9th and 15th.
I would agree. And then we didn't really speak a lot about Palace.
Or Brighton.
Brighton I don't think we've mentioned at all. Palace I think will be they'll be fighting relegation again, but I just think that with Zaha, assuming they keep him, that's a match winner that will keep them up because he's going to help them picking up enough points. And then they signed a player from QPR, a young kind of player who's sort of earmarked for a future England career. And so that can be an interesting one to add to their midfield and attacking flair. So I think Crystal Palace will have enough.
So one of my friends is going to be furious at me because there is one team we have not discussed. One team. And I will consider them in the same category as Everton and Newcastle. And that is West Ham.
Oh yeah, we haven't mentioned West Ham at all. I'm going to put West Ham into the improving category for me. Not by a ton, but I was impressed by they seem to sort of figure things out a little bit. And I'm going to put West Ham in the category of not being involved in the relegation fight this year.
That kind of 9th to 14th.
Yeah, maybe I'm remembering this. Maybe I'm remembering this wrong, but I feel like they were really on and off. Like they played a few good matches, and then they would just fall apart for like 6, and then it'd come back and people would say, oh, they're playing well again, and then it just fall apart again. Like they weren't consistent at all. So maybe if they can clean that up, although I don't think have they had any signings. I didn't see any when I looked through.
As of yet, no.
Yeah.
They've got the classic problem though, where they've spent big over the last couple of years, and maybe there's a semi sort of retraction against spending big when it hasn't worked out. But there
plus also we also have to factor in when we're predicting all these club spending, right? Is that their revenues are dropping, so they're all having to approach, and for a few of them too, you're having to work out whether or not, if you have furloughed any staff, it looks really bad that you furloughed some staff 2 or 3 months ago, and now you're bringing in a player for £20 million to play on £150,000 a week. It's not a great look.
No, I think Arsenal sacked about 30 people after they furloughed them, and obviously then, they're talking about these like mega monies, and it is no good look at all. But yeah, no, it's just simply, but it's not a good look in the slightest. So.
It's a tough one, right? Because you're going to get pressures from your supporters. Like, you're not going to win a lot of points in a way if you're a club that either did furlough people and then now says, look, we can't sign people because that would be wrong. Or even if you didn't furlough people, if you make the argument of, look, we didn't furlough anyone because we thought it was important to pay all of these people their full wages. But the cost of that is that we, in addition to losing revenue, we spent a lot of money that maybe some of our competition didn't spend, or money that we really didn't have. And now if you're saying, well, we're not going to spend much this summer because of those facts, you're not going to get a lot of sort of brownie points from your supporters for being the good guys in the league.
Brownie points.
I thought Frank might enjoy that expression, so just threw that one in there.
Not a big brownie fan.
Sorry, you're not going to get a lot of nacho points. How's that? Should we?
These points are nacho.
Why would you go from brownie to nacho? You should at least keep it in the dessert ballpark.
Well, I should have called them Boy Scout points, I guess, really, right? I think that's the origin of the phrase, but yeah, no. Yeah, some donut points. We'll have the podcast
I'll accept that.
system. We'll have donut points, and I'll give that. I'll say I'm giving Sheffield United 0 Eddie donut points going into this season, and I'm just saying that in general, supporters are not going to be handing out a lot of donut points because you're being financially responsible with the management of the club, and that's part of the problem in football.
All right, sounds good. Any last minute predictions? Things you need to get off your chest?
Well, I will say we haven't addressed it, right? But there's probably going to be a noticeable drop in my audio quality for anyone out there who's listening. So I will say I'm in the midst of a move. And you know what they always say, the best time to move is during a pandemic. So I
know that well.
Yeah, blood on the streets, buy property. There is that expression. Now, unfortunately, I'm not buying anything, but I am renting.
But you're renting.
I am renting and relocating, and fortunately, that means that not only is it a pain to physically move all of the stuff, but also switching all of the services over is not as smooth as it might have been outside of a pandemic, and so COVID-19 restrictions mean that I may not have Wi-Fi at home for a week or two, and so my audio quality may have dropped to a cell phone and a headset.
So now you're just like a call center.
I'm not even a call center. I'm not even Sam's call center quality, right? Because Sam had one of those call center headsets. I am literally on a Apple provided earbuds and microphone. So that's what we're going on now.
Blood on the streets, buy property. I love how you've just adapted it to the modern age where it's like rent property.
Yeah, exactly. Virus in the spit, rent something else.
All right. Well, that wraps it up. I think Thursday, we'll drop it on Friday. We'll do an NFL preview. And then get ready for return of Premier League and the NFL. It's going to be exciting.
This will be my teaser. Who will be my Sheffield United of the NFL?
I know mine.
And let me just say that my biggest drop maybe rhymes with Famar Maxim.
Oh, speaking of, I was listening to a podcast with Oisin Murphy today, and he said that there's a horse coming up that's going to race, I think, this weekend that he really likes called Mahomes. So keep that one on the radar.
All right,
Just-
we can maybe preview that along with the NFL season then.
Yeah, I want the odds of Mahomes to win NFL MVP and the 2,000 guineas next year.
I guess let's wrap up with this thing because we've had a lot of debate as we're talking about horse racing now. We're obviously dedicating months and months of content to the build up to the Arc, and Enable is racing this weekend in the September Stakes. Not facing a lot of opposition, it has to be said. So it's another one of those situations where all it can probably do is blot its copybook. I don't think, even if it romps home, I don't think you'd argue that it means anything significant. But Frank, you've been doubting Enable all season. Enable's 1-5 to win the September Stakes at Kempton this weekend. Are you taking it on with the field?
What with the field being 3 donkeys and a trainer who's deciding to run by foot? No, I'm not.
I mean, the interesting one, right, is that Gosden put Logician into in there, but it's not been declared. But there was that moment where it looked like he might be pitting actually 2 of his better stable options against each other, which would have been, I would have actually said, had that happened, my confidence in Enable for the Arc would have significantly dropped, because it would have been such a bizarre move from Gosden that it might have been a reflection of the fact that he doesn't think Enable is going to be up to much in the remainder of the season, and he was using these races to prepare other horses for other things. So the fact that he has not declared Logician for this race makes me not more confident in Enable, but certainly meant that I avoided something that might have made me doubt some of my confidence.
I mean, 1-5 is short, but my only worry would be that they're sending Enable out there and they're telling Dettori, we just want you to give it a good gallop and hit a time and not push it. And if there happens to be a horse that just runs the race of its life, don't overexert and just save your energy for the Arc. But I don't see that happening, because I don't think there is a horse in there that could even come close to that. So I think you have to. I mean, I would be shocked if Enable loses to these horses. I mean, I don't think there's even a real true Group 1 winner in there.
I don't think there's a horse that should push it close, even if we say that it was 85% for the Eclipse. That you have to assume then that it's at least 90% now, right? But
yeah,
should be approaching 100%. There's no real excuses
and I mean,
for
I think
it not
that's the
being.
thing. Like, they probably don't want to blow the tank, but I don't think there's anything in there that's going to even come close to starting to empty the tank.
So I don't even think that should be a concern, because it's still a month from the Arc. So it's not like if it has a very taxing run this weekend.
But we went through this. It's older. The metabolism is changing. It doesn't eat the same anymore. It's a very finicky horse now.
Maybe that's the argument for really pushing it through its gears. But I don't think it will need to. I don't think it will realistically need to get out of 4th gear to win this race quite comfortably.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why we even bother, because Gaiath's going to win the Arc no matter what. So even if it doesn't show up, it's still going to win.
Well, see, that's going to be the thing, actually. If Gaiath doesn't show up, I think the two of you are going to pull the like Donald Trump move, right? Of like, oh, well, we only didn't show up because we knew we would win. So Gaiath was just doing the nice thing and allowing some other horses to compete for the Arc. But fundamentally, everyone knows that Gaiath is the real winner. I 100% can see this argument coming if Gaiath is not sent to Longshot.
Well, that's why they said Pile Driver wasn't going to the Arc. He didn't want to ruin Gosden of the Enable 3rd win.
It's a good move.
All right. Well, until next time, Talk to you boys later.
Yep. See ya.